bonjour! Today I'm going to be talking about my TBR challenge of 2016. So the year is over, but I completed the 2016 TBR challenge. While I didn't read a book a month, I did complete all of the challenges. I thought I would share with you all the books that I read for those challenges, all the challenges, and then I also plan to do the challenge in 2017. The first challenge I attempted was listen to an audiobook in August. I chose Illuminate by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff for this challenge. I had heard so many amazing things about the audiobook, and oh my god, the audiobook for Illuminate is one of the best I have ever heard. I am so thankful to this audiobook because it helped me get into audiobooks. Illuminate was one of the best books I read this year, so this was a successful challenge. Next, in February, I completed the challenge of read a new author by reading Norse Code by Van Eekot. So I love Greg. I've met him a couple times. He actually lives in my area, so I've met him a couple times and he's amazing, and I was a little bit disappointed by this book. This is a book about Norse mythology, it has Thor and Odin and everything, and while I did really enjoy this book, I gave it 3 stars. I just love Greg so much as a person that I was kind of disappointed, but this is his first book, and he even said when I bought this book and got it signed, he was like, I'm sorry, that was my first book. I had no idea what I was doing back then. So I think I'm gonna check out some of his other books. I bet you they're a lot better. Next, in March, I completed the challenge of read a 2016 release by reading Riders by Veronica Rossi. This book took me completely by surprise. I almost didn't buy this book, but I went to a signing with Veronica Rossi, Mary E. Pearson, and Kirsten White. So just like, you know what? I bought the other 2 authors' books. Might as well just buy hers anyway. And I ended up becoming absolutely obsessed with this book. Such a unique concept. It's about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The main character is this horseman. War. And this book just, oh my god, I flew through this book. It's not that long, but still, I finished this in like 2 days, and I was so busy those 2 days. Like, it was so good. And in April, my challenge was to read a classic, and I kind of failed at that challenge because I picked Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, but I didn't end up finishing this until June, but I still finished it, so I still completed the challenge. So while I did like Pride and Prejudice, I'm not obsessed with it as everybody else. This book is just not for me. It's a good book, and I see why everybody else loves it. It just wasn't for me. In May, I completed a challenge of reading a book with 500 plus pages with the book A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Oh my god, I'm pretty sure this book was like 600 pages. It was really big. I loved it. It was phenomenal. It was so amazing. And I even did a review. So I did read a book that's not a novel, and the story I had chosen for that was The Tyranny of Petticoats by a bunch of authors. It was a short story anthology, a historical fiction one, and I really loved it because it took place during a bunch of different time periods. It were all badass ladies, and there were a few of the stories I did not like at all, but for the most part, it was amazing. I can't remember all of the authors because there was a lot, but Jessica Spotswood is the one who edited it, and Marie Lu had a story, Beth Rivas, and a bunch of other authors. In June, I completed the challenge of finish a series by reading Of Neptune by Anna Binks. This is the last book in the Serena Legacy trilogy, and it's a series about mermaids, and this series is just so much fun. All of the books are just such quick reads. They're really funny, they're so entertaining, and I always love reading them. Then in August, I failed once again. In August, I had the challenge of reading a book and watching its adaptation, and I ended up doing that in September. I read the book in September, and I watched the adaptation in October, and that book was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. So I loved Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. It was amazing, but let's not even talk about the movie. I did a movie review. Go check that out because I had quite a lot to say about that movie. Not positive. In September, I also completed the challenge of rereading a book by reading Reread by Kirsten Geyer. So I actually binge read the entire Reread series, which is actually called the Precious Stone trilogy. You know what? I kind of like calling it the Reread series better, so I'm just gonna call it the Reread series. This series is just a really fun time traveling series, and it was just so much fun binge reading the whole series. In October, I completed the challenge of reading a 2016 debut by reading A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Colorado. This book actually got me out of a reading slump. I literally finished this the last day of October, and it was just such a fun book. I flew through this book. It was so fun and entertaining, and it made me happy, and I just love this book so much. In November, I completed the challenge of reading a book somebody picked for you. I asked one of my best friends to pick a book for me off my shelf, and she picked P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. I'm so happy she picked this one. This book just made me so freaking happy, which is so cute and adorable. I just loved it. And oh my god, there was a Sound of Music reference in this, and I read this in November, and a week before I had read this book, I'd actually seen Sound of Music live on Broadway. So there was like, it was so fresh in my mind, Sound of Music. So seeing that reference in this book just made me so happy, especially since after I saw Sound of Music, I became absolutely obsessed with the musical. I mean, I've always loved Sound of Music, but after seeing it on Broadway, like, I don't know, I'm obsessed with it. Comment down below if you guys ever want to see Sound of Music covers, because I've been really obsessed with the music. I've been singing it nonstop, and I've been trying to memorize some of the songs. So if you guys want to see some covers, comment down below. I'll definitely do them. And the last challenge of 2016 for the TBR challenge was to read an unread book on my shelf, and I completed that challenge by reading the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling, the illustrated edition. This book was just magical and wonderful, and I just loved it. I mean, it's Harry Potter. Do I really need to say anything more? And the illustrations just added so much. So that concludes my 2016 TBR challenge wrap up. Oh my god, I just noticed I didn't turn my lights on. What the heck? Oh my god. Yay! Now lights. My TBR challenge jar. I put a bunch of challenges in here. I'm going to take them out and read them to you one by one. So the first challenge in here is read a book with 500 plus pages. I have repeated some of the challenges because I really loved doing some of the challenges, but changed a couple of them. Read a book in Italian. So I actually mentioned on this channel before, I am Italian, and Italian is actually my first language, even though English is my better language. So I want to challenge myself to read a book in Italian because I need to perfect my reading in Italian. Next, I have the challenge of read a book that's not a novel. Next, I have reread a book. Finish a series. Read an LGBTQ plus book. Read an Own Voices book. Read a 2017 debut novel. Read a book by an old favorite author. By this, I mean an author that became your favorite a really long time ago and you haven't read a book from them in a long time. Read a middle grade. I actually never read middle grade. I'm gonna try to read more middle grade with this challenge. Read a book someone picked for you. That concludes my 2017 TBR challenge. I will leave the full challenge down below. Anyways, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Comment down below, are you doing any challenges in 2017? Which are they? My social media links are all down below. My Goodreads, my Twitter, my Bookstagram. Au revoir!